watching him raise up to like full height, I was like, whoa. I was like,
Yes.
all right, guys,
Tom is
kind
better
of
than me. I'd have shitted on myself. I'm so sorry.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of A Ghost in the Magazine. I'm Steph.
And I'm Elle.
I'm Sadie.
and I'm
That's
right.
right.
Thanks.
So sorry. Sometimes people get nervous, but Ray's a professional. We're going to cover Nosferatu 2024, but just very quick, a little bit of housekeeping. Ray, I do this thing to people who come on the podcast for the first time and I don't tell them I'm going
Mhm.
to do it. What's your favorite scary movie?
Oof, my favorite scary movie. That's honestly pretty hard. I'd probably, if I had to choose one, I'd probably say it's the one that I hate the most, which is The Nun.
Really?
Yeah, it freaked me out completely. But I think if a horror movie does that to you, then it's pretty good. So,
Definitely. Can concur. Yeah, and that's crazy. I think you're like the fastest person to answer the question. So
Not true. I said Saw like immediately.
oh no, for
that's
sure. If we're
tough.
talking about a series, then yeah, Saw would be it.
Ah,
Really?
what?
You too.
Yeah,
Ah.
yeah.
Sadie and I did a month. We covered Saw movies and then had to spiritually and mentally recover. But
Yes.
Yes,
here we are.
that sounds about right.
Okay.
God.
So, Nosferatu. We have covered the original. I didn't watch it. But Elle did. And so I want to ask Elle first. How do they compare? Just like quickly,
Apples to
like,
oranges. Like, not at
oh, okay.
all. I think the interesting thing about Nosferatu, and we've also seen the 70s version. Didn't you watch that one with me?
If there was sound, I watched it.
Yes.
I mean, if it was,
And
if
what
there
I
was
think is
dialogue.
interesting about this particular like adaptation, which is like was originally a ripoff, an illegal ripoff of Bram Stoker's
Hmm.
Dracula. Um, they always seem to, these really artsy filmmakers seem to pick it up and like push the edges of what like the current zeitgeist is with it, which is really interesting because that 70s movie did the same thing. And it was black and
Hmm.
white and it was very artsy. And I think that we kind of made fun of that a little bit. But at that time, we're watching it in an antiquated form when we were watching it still. But
Yeah.
this one really kind of pushed the edges of storytelling, and I will say that the discourse that I saw on TikTok was ridiculous. It was absolutely stupid. So
That only made me like it more because if it's pissing off bro dudes, then it's my favorite movie. What are you talking about?
I think it wasn't just that, it was like the nerds responding to it. Like, you just don't understand gothic romance. And I'm just like, Jesus, stop making us look bad. Stop
Right?
making us look like fucking nerds. Besides the fact that they were talking about morally gray, there's nothing morally gray about Orlok. Orlok is
No.
fucking evil. He
No.
is a
He's
force
a
of
Batman.
nature. He is not
Hmm.
Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights. That's a morally
Right.
gray antagonist. That's not him.
No, this is the
So
devil, like quite literally.
this
There's
is
no
death.
Yeah,
This is the
Literally.
yeah.
personification of death.
Hmm.
Absolutely. No, that's crazy.
I'm
Morally
not.
great. Where have you looked at him? I'm like his skin may be
I
gray.
actually,
Yeah.
I only
His
saw
skin
one
may be gray.
video. I
He's
only saw one video that was like that, and I think I don't know. We're on pretty similar corners of the internet, you and I. But like, I only saw one that was like that. Which yeah. Also in terms of like hot monsters, this was not that.
no, thank you. No, I
This
thought
man
you were
has
gonna
not
say
washed his
yes.
ass for 100 years.
I
He
thought
has
you were gonna
not
say
washed
yes.
his ass.
I was
No, he
like,
is not.
I've had some crazy hear me out stuff, but come on.
Yeah,
I
Like,
know,
I
no,
think
I
the son
know
of Loki is hotter than this. Okay,
right?
that weird
that's
fucking deer son.
really. Did you ever see The Ritual?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the
You
Loki
did see
monster
it?
stuff.
You know the
Yeah.
monster from it?
Yeah.
That's Sadie's hear me
That was the
out.
comparison.
Yeah, no, for sure.
No, yeah,
For
okay,
sure. That thing's just been out there existing.
yeah, and I'm sure he could show me a great time. That's not the point of this conversation, though. I think I really just like the way they did Count Orlok too. Like this
Mhm.
man is disgusting. It sounds like every
Mm.
breath he takes is literally killing him. His skin
Yeah.
is peeling off constantly. Like, and to be a personification of death and to be surrounded by death all the time and literally just,
Yeah.
I'm sure your breath is just fucking horrid, but that's another story here. It's just really interesting the way they took it because usually it's like, oh, he drank all of this blood and now he's young and youthful again. But like that
Yeah.
was never the case. And I thought that
Mm-mm.
was really
I
interesting.
I thought that was interesting too because if you like notice like throughout the movie from the time that they first introduced him to
Mhm.
like the end, his breathing started out as like super labored. Sorry, my dog's right here, but he started out as super labored, and then it became less labored as we went on. And
Mhm.
so personally, I thought that that is exactly what was going to happen, where it's like, oh, okay, he's drank all this blood, all this youth. He's now rejuvenated. You know, he's got his whole like L'Oreal thing going on, and he's gonna be back in shape. You know, at his prime.
Gonna get a
And
blowout
there
of
we
it. It's
go.
gonna be good.
Yeah, and that is exactly what you said. That's not what happened. So I was like, I guess that's like reality, quote unquote, for him. But I thought it was interesting to
It's
see that though.
reality in general. And can I say, based off of this and the previews that they showed for us personally, I think that there is a renaissance of real monsters coming, and I
Mhm.
could not be more excited. Like when I worked at Universal, I was a little psychopath. I was 18 and I was just like super excited about everything, like, oh, they made the movies here. But I remember that they had started with like the Wolfman in 2014, and they were like, and then the Mummy remake that was so terrible with Tom Cruise, they were
Mhm.
gonna do that then. But I guess the wrong people were involved, and then Robert Eggers rose from
From his
wherever he
crypt.
came from.
From his crypt.
And he said, let me put a little stank on it. And I'm so excited.
I
Okay.
went into this not knowing what to expect at all because it's been a really,
Same.
really long time since I saw the old one. And the last Dracula-based movie I saw was like Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is ridiculous
You're
within
welcome.
itself. I know. And then I didn't watch any previews. I didn't listen to anyone's opinions. Like I just went in blind and it was great. Like I had a good time. Like, and it's just it's so pretty. I know people probably wouldn't use that word to describe it because it's so
I
dark
did.
and whatever, but
Mhm.
like it in that gothic sense, like they really nailed like that aesthetic like so much. It's really good
Yeah,
though.
I want to talk about that really quickly because I've been drowning in interviews for the past like 48 hours, and
Mhm.
I just think it's so interesting. Like it's the end of the year, and so there have been a lot of great movies released this year, a lot of highly anticipated mildly let down movies,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
like the press tours I feel have all been really different. And
Mhm.
so my favorite thing about this press tour is that it makes the cast seem like they're all very dedicated to the art. Like they're not just doing
Yeah.
whatever movies. It
Mhm.
genuinely seems like everybody cares about it very much. And when Robert Eggers talks,
Mhm.
and I care about everything that he says. And
Mhm.
it's really, really interesting the way that he went about. He did The Witch. The Witch was his first
Mhm.
movie that he
Oh, I heard
did
about
as
that.
like writer director. And
Mhm.
it has very similar vibes, but you can see how The Witch, if you compare the two visually, is like slightly underdeveloped, still amazing and like
Yeah.
really crispy. But when you look at his movies, like it takes us on a journey of him kind of learning what his artistic style is with those movies.
Mhm.
He made special lens filters for this movie
Mhm.
that filters out certain colors. So
What?
yeah, that's why some of it looked black and white and some of it had more like blues and oranges come
Yeah,
in.
the different views.
Um, and I remember, yes, I ate an adult candy before watching that movie, and it did kick in about halfway in. But I remember at one point going, "Wait a minute, when did it change from being black and white?"
Yeah.
And that kind of like
Mhm.
like not being surroundings is like the whole movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And then sort of, I don't know. I think it's just a pretty way that it was shot too, and just new takes on everything. The costumes, like I'm in love with like what everybody was wearing, like so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of what everybody was wearing, what pissed me off to the core as a
Was it
woman.
the corset?
Yes, the corset with the fucking doctor. And this woman is
I'll leave it alone
convulsing
while
and
she's
having
sleeping.
seizures, and they're holding her down to tighten her corset. I'm like, the bitch already can't breathe. What are you doing?
You're
Like,
breaking her bones. Maybe they were trying to keep Orlok
they're
in
like,
there.
we gotta
Whatever's
keep
wrong
her
with her,
bones straight. And I'm like, if I swear to God, if I'm like sick as a dog and a doctor's like, keep your corset on, I need a new doctor. What is wrong with
doing
you?
murders.
Like, that doesn't make any sense. What book did you read that in?
Oh, man.
Well, it's just like them constantly ethering her too.
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
remember that.
yeah.
I think with my date, I
That
was
was
sitting right
wild.
next to him, and I was like, "They're gonna fucking kill her," because he's like, "Just give her more ether." I'm like, I don't think you should do that." Like,
No.
Yeah.
Tiny.
and then she
When he
put it
Mm-mm.
on
said
her
that,
rags and put it on her,
I
and I'm
I,
like,
I couldn't believe like that they said that. Like he was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna increase the ether," and I was like, that can mean a few things.
right?
But in this sense, I hope it's not what I think. And then slowly but surely,
It
he
was.
just puts her to sleep, and I was like, "Oh,
I mean,
I
she
would
had
have.
no
oof."
agency throughout, too.
Yeah,
Like
they
she
kept
No.
on
had,
letting
it
her
No,
was whether Orlok had a hold of her or they had a hold of her. She
right.
was just
right?
stripped of all of her agency.
That pissed me
It's
off a
true.
lot, but I really like that they kept with the
Yeah,
whole like medicine. Well, obviously, because
Hmm.
it's historical, when they're like, "But we just gotta let some of the blood out. She's just too blood
Too much
congested."
blood.
And I
Yep.
Too
was
much
like,
blood.
Too
yeah.
much blood.
that is the one point in the movie where I fucking giggled out loud, and the people next to me looked like I was weird, and I was like, "Bloodletting is so
Everything.
stupid."
She gets her
Hmm.
period every month.
Right? She
She's
gets
got her blood's
her.
fine.
She's got blood coming out her eyeballs. She's fine. Don't worry about it. Like the ether thing cracked me up, and then like the corset thing pissed me off because I'm like, the girl just needs to be able to breathe and move a little bit. Y'all got her
Yeah.
tied to a bed and shackled in a corset. She's not having a good time.
Yeah.
Um, putting an ether soaked rag to her face, like that's not gonna burn the shit out of her skin.
Yeah.
Literally the chloroforming. I was like, oh dear, good heavens.
And then it's just like, yeah, you got this regular doctor who's doing all this crazy stuff, and everybody thinks that's normal. And he's like, let me go get the crazier doctor because I don't
Crazier
know
doctor.
what's going on.
Okay,
Yeah.
the only
Crazy.
man I would ride for in this movie, right there.
Yes.
The crazier
Yeah.
doctor.
For
Come on.
sure.
Crazier doctor was
Hey,
right the
but
whole
like
time.
he
So,
was right, but then also it kind of seemed like a plot for him to get her cat.
yeah,
Greta,
he wanted that
Yeah.
cat. He set that whole shit up so he could steal
what
her
a
cat.
beautiful cat. You're gonna be mine someday. Watch this.
Yep.
The long con. Just wait for Jacket him to swoop in.
And you know what? I don't know. Robert Eggers also loves to pop Willem Dafoe in as a crazy old coot
Yeah, he
Well, he
does.
plays a
Yes.
crazy old
lighthouse.
We couldn't even cover the lighthouse because Steph and I kept talking about covering it, and we're like, it's so dense. I don't even know how to approach it in this format.
He loves playing a crazy old coot, and he does it well.
Yeah, he
He's
does
good at
pretty
it too.
well.
But yeah, just like, let me go get the crazier doctor. And then what, her friend's like husband is literally losing his fucking mind because he's like,
Yeah.
can you
Valid
crazy
though.
bitch out
Because
of
like I know you love your friend,
right,
babe. What did you say, right? She's Harlem shaking all over the place.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
That man was like, I want to sleep, get this crazy bitch out of my house.
Poor
Like,
gal
No,
can't keep her
seriously.
shit together.
right.
Yeah, in public or in private.
Yeah, on the beach, it makes me think of that thing where it's like, can you just, I just want you to stop saying odd shit. Because,
Yeah,
like, it's just going on and on
can't
about
take her
weird,
anywhere.
right? Can't take her anywhere.
I will say though, when she was shaking, like it very much so reminded me of Pennywise from the most recent, like the updated it. I
Yes.
was like, ooh. I was like, I don't know, like if
All I
this
got was
is
Nicki
like
Minaj.
intended, but it was I mean, it was good because it was violent shakes,
Yeah, that
Mm,
and
was
they were solid.
mhm.
I feel like this movie did not let up. Everything was
Yeah,
violence, whether it was them trying to take care of her, her husband trying to
yeah.
make the money or whatever. Like every second was violent, like either
Okay.
subtle or overt.
Most definitely. But I have to say, when the husband first went on the mission, that guy who sent him on the mission was immediately suspicious.
He
Don't
was.
you think he's got some marbles
Yes.
rattling around in there, my guy? I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
The moment he got this close to my face, I would be like, okay, I don't know what you're up to, but I'm not fucking going. Like, I
No,
don't
for
know what this
sure.
is about.
I had to pee during this scene where I came back and my brother's like, the old man did some ritual and he was naked. And I'm like, God damn it, I can't believe I missed
Yeah.
that.
No,
I really wanted to see that.
seriously.
That was a jump scare. They just go to this like naked man whispering in a basement.
Yeah.
Like,
I
All
kind
right.
of love that.
I love it too, but still, I
I
didn't see that.
retrospectively, he was sliding around
Mm.
Mm,
completely bare-assed, right,
yeah,
on
On
a
that wood
wooden
floor,
floor,
yeah.
right?
damn,
I look,
writing in his blood.
Like,
I
Very
just
nonsense.
that is if that's not commitment, I don't know what is. For
that's
sure. He
insane.
was committed wholly to the cause because that number one, just sliding around like that has to be painful. And then
Mm.
he's, you know, in a I guess like
Eating
a
pigeon
micro
heads.
form, just bloodletting. You know what I'm saying? And he's just writing
Mm.
his name.
He's writing like the spell incantation in blood
Yeah.
as he's cutting himself,
Was
sliding around
From
on the
memory.
floor.
Like
It was wild. I really didn't expect that, and I said, "Oh, this
Oh,
might be scary."
yeah.
right?
No, for sure.
Okay, so now we're getting into how
For
weird
sure.
this is about to be. I was wrong. It gets weirder. But you know.
Very
Yeah.
and awkward too, because when the husband gets to his destination, kind of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and doesn't know what's going on, I'm immediately like, "Where's the person who's supposed to meet me?" Oh, wait, I didn't ask. I
Right.
didn't ask
Right. He didn't ask
what
any
happens when
questions.
I get here.
My issue with this is like I understand you want money for your family, but if I had made it to that village of what I assume are Romani people in the sense,
Uh-huh.
and all the warnings and the weird shit they're doing, I'd have turned my black ass around and went home. I'm so
At
sorry. Like,
minimum, when the
Quickly.
haunted carriage comes down the street,
right.
I'm not
Yeah.
getting it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
He
They
he
were
was
warning,
literally at a crossroads.
right.
Hmm.
That's what
Quite
I said.
literally.
I was like, this
Hello?
is go home.
Yeah. And then
You
on
don't.
top of that, if we like go back to the cinematography piece,
Mhm.
Mm.
I thought that that whole scene was one, it was very well done. But if you paid like very, very specific attention to the way the road was laid out, it
Mhm.
looked like an upside down cross. So that long shot, if
Mhm.
you like paid like very close attention to it, I was like, ah, this is gonna be like super weird. Either he's gonna get snatched up, or something magical is gonna happen. Like he's welcome
Yeah.
to Disneyland.
Magic, I
That's,
mean, relative.
I think
It's
Thomas just has
Yeah,
like zero preservation of self. Not to cut you off, Steph,
yeah,
but just zero because he's like with these people who didn't even want him to stay there. They're like, "Take
yeah,
your ass home," and then they finally let him stay there, and then they're like, "You shouldn't go up there." And then he's spying on them, sacrifice some naked girl to he doesn't
yeah.
know, and somehow he's still like, "I'm still gonna go. This isn't a goddamn
crazy.
vacation."
No,
No, if
it's
I
time
see
to
a
go.
naked lady on a horse, I can't. Like,
Right.
Yeah,
this is not okay. I'm unwell. I gotta
exactly.
go.
Going
This
back
is
to sleep.
beyond me.
Wake
This
up in
is
the
beyond
morning.
me.
I'm gonna grab my horse and I'm gonna leave.
He didn't even have his horse. They hit his horse. They clearly don't
Oh,
want him
they
up
yeah, they
there.
took the horse, didn't they?
Yes, they took the
Wasn't that
damn
his
horse.
horse?
They took his
I'm
horse.
up. I'm
Yeah,
getting
I'm
out of
I'm
here.
out of there. I'm
Yeah.
out of there.
Not.
Mm-mm.
There were a lot of warnings. Like, and even with like it comes back to that whole the wife knows something the husband doesn't, and everyone just thinks
Yeah.
the wife is crazy because before he even left, she was like, I don't think you should go. Like,
No, for
Not for
sure.
me.
right.
For sure.
It's not for me. I'm
That's
just
enough for
saying.
me. But then she gets
Yeah.
all weird, puts her hair in a locket, and I'm like, oh well, now you just like sealed your fate entirely. So that's great. Cool.
I
Good.
you know, I knew
I
that
don't
was
know.
gonna be a problem though. Like when she put her hair in the locket, I was
Mhm.
like, okay, cool. That's like a sign of affection, like,
I thought it
something
was
like to
romantic.
remember her by. But then I was like,
Mhm.
wait, it's a locket? Like that's and it's her hair. I was like, I have a feeling that
Mhm.
where he's going is gonna get lost.
Hmm.
Somebody's taking it. Somebody's using it for nefarious deeds.
Hmm.
That's exactly what happened.
I think
That's,
he's just using it for jorking it, not necessarily nefarious deed. Because all he did was
Well,
sniff
no,
it.
that's fair. That's fair though, because he already had her. What did he need the
Right.
locket
What
for
did
Yeah.
he
the
need
hair?
pocket
So
for?
that's
He
just
just had it
extra
for the
razzle
scent. He
dazzle.
I
literally just
I don't
jorked,
know. I think he needed something tangible, like
right?
for those like
Like a
late
reminder.
mornings.
Now
You
Or
know?
like that tangible thing was like the last piece, and he's like, okay, I can move to Germany.
I can move.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
Final
know.
motivation.
It just that made me so uncomfortable every time he lifted that locket to his face and just took
You
the
know what made me uncomfortable? His mustache.
As the
Before we
Germans
went
would
into
call
the
it,
movie
porno
theater,
balcony.
yes, Elle sends me a picture of Paro from Aqua Teen Hunger Force because she had already seen the movie. And I was like, this does not bode well for my eyeballs.
I
And then
saw a
I got in.
TikTok. People were like, he's disgusting. His skin is peeling off. His breath smells like nails are in his lungs, and like y'all are concerned about the fucking mustache. Like that's where you draw the line.
Yes. No, that's not where I draw the
I
line.
think I
But
draw
it
the
is
line at all of it.
Right.
all of it. It's just that the mustache is like it's like you take a zombie vampire and you
Yeah.
put some glitter in the middle of its face.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
gonna
for
talk about
sure.
the glitter first.
Like, I think it's crusty as a motherfucker.
It
Just
it did seem like it was like looking back, it seemed like it was kind of like burnt though. Like if you've seen somebody's like I guess like beard being like burnt, like what remains if they catch it in time, like that's what it looked like. And I thought it
Do
was
you know
like
from
kind of
experience?
interesting.
Mhm.
No, just from a lot of
Okay.
like Reddit diving,
Uh,
just
it's such a good Reddit.
I don't know. It's just crazy. But then it's like what? He gets there and then
Mhm.
Thomas starts going absolutely nuts and then like trying
Yeah.
to even can't leave. So then what?
Yeah.
He's stuck there being fed on in the middle of the night, which is tantamount to assault at this point. Because like, what are you doing? But
But
Yeah,
I mean, who's he telling?
he's
fair enough.
sucking on this man's chest
Right, he's
too,
stuck in on
not
his
the neck.
titties every night, and it is just like, what am I supposed to do?
It's
Steven,
a Five Nights at Diddy's. It was like the original like game, I guess.
Oh my God. No. I
That's
feel
how
so
I
bad
felt when
for
he
him.
found out, and I was like, that dude has been on that man's chest. I was like, yeah, I was like, that's Five Nights at
cheating.
Diddy's, Five Nights
Yeah,
at
that is
Dracula's.
non-consensual. He's been laying on him, just
Yeah.
Didn't
getting a
we
little
watch
bit.
another of these Dracula remakes where he was breastfeeding someone?
Oh yeah.
Was it the
Oh
one with
no,
the syphilis?
it might have
What?
been, but there was also
Yeah.
a pinball machine
Mhm.
that I found at ground control in Portland where it's from the 94 one, I think, the one with Gary Oldman, and he looks like he's breastfeeding her on the image on the pinball machine.
Oh my
So
God.
Check it out. It's more
What?
poetic. It's closer to the heart.
yeah.
What
Yeah.
makes no sense
Is it?
is he does get out. He gets out. He's
At
basically
what
dead.
cost?
Right? At what cost? Because
Everything.
he's basically dead for all we know. These crazy ass
Everything.
nuns
No.
sent
Oh my
him.
god.
And they're like, don't leave. Like, don't just stay
Yeah.
here. I want to listen to them. I'm like, fuck my life. I'm so sorry. This is just too much. Like, I'm with the
No, for sure. I don't. I wish they would have extended that piece out a little bit more. Because you're referring to the
Yeah.
convent, right?
The
yeah, the
nuns.
convent. I
Yeah.
wanted to know
It
more.
Yeah,
was very
yeah,
quick.
Yeah.
yeah. I wish they
Um,
would have extended that out some more. Like at least to like where he's like, maybe like laying in bed and they give
backstory.
him some more information like
Yeah.
about who he is and what he is.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, some context. But you know what they
you
did
know,
spend a lot of time on with
Mhm.
those nuns?
Mhm.
Their costumes. Because
They did.
this guy, they're very intricate. I was looking.
They
Yeah.
are.
They have all of these like symbols that would be apparently relevant to the time. But Robert Eggers had the same costume designer for like several movies. So they're like a
Oh
cohesive
snap!
team at this point.
Mhm.
And I think every director should have a favorite costume designer. Like how sick
Yeah,
would that go? Like
That's cool. I
I
would
crazy.
like to
agree.
know more about the
I
convent.
agree.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, how'd they
Yeah.
end up there? Why do they know all of this? Like. But what
Yeah,
do
they obviously they hate Orlok.
I
Okay.
yeah. I think it's interesting though because like I I mean depending on like what movie you watch or like what lore I guess you read, like there are like nuns being depicted or like convents like being depicted as like warrior convents. So it's like I wonder if they had knowledge because of that or because like it was just something that they were taught because they were in the vicinity,
Well,
like
yeah, because
somehow combating, you know.
that
It could
makes
be
sense because
both. They
they
could have
always were
formed from
first.
necessity.
Yeah,
Wow, that's true.
but I think that's a good concept because like when Willem Dafoe's character is talking about Nosferatu, he doesn't say the Nosferatu. He says it's a Nosferatu. So there has to be like a
More.
history of
Yeah.
more of one of these existing. It's never just like this is the only one.
In this movie, I think I prefer the thought that there's only one of these mustached bad boys running around town.
Hanging dong.
I can only handle one. And I mean, he it kind of makes him seem like I really like it. It kind of makes him seem more of like a demon, like more of a boogeyman
Yeah.
because she called out to him when she was a little girl who
Yeah.
was lonely and felt like an outsider and needed some company.
What does
And you
that
Yeah.
sound
kind of
like?
wonder.
I think the way they made him more of like an oppressive force of evil and less more on the vampirism and more of like
Mm-hmm.
the overtaking of darkness and like he's just an oppressive, unstoppable force
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
coming for you no matter what you do. I really liked how heavy that felt. I also like that this movie asked the question, how many rats is too many rats?
Yeah, thousands of rats.
Yeah,
Ooh.
so many rats.
Yeah.
The
The
plague. Well, not
70s one
really.
was more.
Hmm.
Was it?
Yeah, that's what I remember about the 70s one is when the ship comes in, it's
Rats.
just rats everywhere.
Oh,
They're all
Birds.
through town.
yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And then
Okay.
this little guy wanted to be like, I was gonna be the king of rats. And I was like, all right, this man is fully fucking lost it.
That
Like,
would have been cool though, like because if you look at the original, I believe at the end, he lives. So instead of dying early, he lives to the end, past like Nosferatu, and he actually like says like, all right, you know, like he's dead now. Like he's like the master is dead, and wasn't really sure if he died at that very moment. But imagine though if he had have lived and he actually did like become
the
the
king of the
Rat
rats.
King. Yeah,
Oh my God.
how cool would that
Someone's got to
be?
do it.
Just
I mean,
master of
I
hordes
mean,
of rats.
the rats
Mhm.
were carrying around what the blood plague, which is
the plague.
not
Yeah,
necessarily the plague. It was behaving a little different, but the plague nonetheless. And then
Plague.
yeah,
so Thomas's best friend gets it after Dracula kills his or no, whatever
yeah,
Orlok kills his whole family, which is insane. Why would you do that? Like that was a jump scare to see just like a dangling 2-year old, and I'm like,
I
oh
hated
no,
that. I'm not
I
gonna
hated that.
lie.
yeah,
I hated
Mhm.
those
yeah,
kids. I really did. They annoyed
Me
me from
too.
the minute they were on screen, but I felt
yeah,
so horrible about how they died.
Mhm.
And then he gets the plague and then goes and bangs his dead wife. I'm so confused. Like that was a
yeah.
He
lot.
was sad.
Well,
Don't give a shit. That's a corpse. Keep it in your pants. Like, what the
I
fuck?
thought he just kissed
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
No, I think it's implied that
no,
he banged
he
her. Like
he fell
they were
down.
doing it. He fell down.
He
Yeah,
fell.
into the casket, you
He
know?
That's why
tripped.
they were so horrified when they walked in because like his pants are like halfway down and she's like underneath him. I'm
Yeah,
like,
Well,
I was like, burn it too, dude.
he said that he couldn't keep his hands off of her.
ah, so the
And
mad.
so it was like
Oh,
it was supposed to be romantic. That was like the real romantic thread there. Everyone said that the romance was Orlok or like Ellen and
No,
Thomas. No, neither of
no.
those really were. And that wasn't either. That was just gross. But I mean, it was like all the weird ways that love can go. Like whatever
Yeah.
dynamic that was when he
No.
mounted her after she told him that, he wasn't shit next to the dead guy.
Right.
That
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
That wasn't her. She
That
was
was an
I just,
possessed.
insane scene. Who has a hard on after this bitch is seasoned in the living room enough to just go at it on the couch?
It
I'm
wasn't him.
not
He was
horny right
possessed.
now.
he, I think it was just out of like, aggression and the need to protect his
Yeah,
pride.
gun. Like
He was
what?
he was kind of possessed, you guys. Like
That yeah,
they
that
were
that part
all
too. Like
possessed.
Fair. I just don't think that was a situation where I'm like, I need to bang my wife right now. Like,
Well, Sadie, are you regularly possessed?
you don't know my life. Don't ask questions.
I'm asking. I'm not making assumptions. I'm just asking. Yeah, I'm saying.
But I also don't have a penis, so I don't know what goes through the mind of men when women are acting crazy. Apparently, that's
that's
a thing for them.
that's
So,
precisely why I believe it was out of like him just trying to protect his pride. Like
Mm.
I don't you know, I'm not saying that
Just
that's
a
what I would do, but
friend.
I could understand, like
he was
as a fellow
into it.
man, I could understand why he would go about doing something like that. It's just, it's a very you tap into this very primal like mindset, especially after being just absolutely
Possessed.
roasted by your
By your
wife
own,
like that.
yeah.
You're like, all right, fine then. I'm just gonna show you something. Like
I
we're
think
gonna
that's
have
funny.
lessons
That shit
today.
made me laugh. He fucks is better than you. I'm like, girl, he's not even there. Like, this is
Yeah,
all in
He's
his
a
head.
dirty
now
hot dog.
I think he's been there the whole time.
Fair enough.
Remember the beach, the assault on the beach,
Yeah.
the assault on the bed. Like we couldn't
Mhm.
see him, but
But
I'm sure old boy was there
I
doing something
know.
nasty.
Well, because he's nasty. And like,
Tickling her rib cage. I literally was like, what if he was just in there the whole time and like tickling
Just
her?
claw them.
clawing at the wall.
Okay, so Ray mentioned Pennywise earlier, so obviously I want to talk about Bill Skarsgård. Okay, I want to talk about Bill Skarsgård because
The ugly Skarsgård, you mean?
I
I'm
don't
just
think he's
kidding.
ugly.
I'm just-
I was like,
He's
oh
a
no,
weird. All the Skarsgårds are weird, but Bill is a little extra weird,
he
okay?
he is extra
Yeah.
weird, but I like him kind of weird.
I do too, but I just feel
Mhm.
like from family tree wise, if we had to pick a funny looking Skarsgård, it would be Bill. Like,
Have you seen the younger brother?
probably not.
Okay, so
Okay.
let's wait until we see them all.
Okay.
Um, so like, whatever.
Mm,
So I think it's interesting because, the hot monster thing. Like, they have a lot of monsters who are, I mean, like mostly mainstream attractive. We talk about it a lot. There are some hits and there are some misses. So
mhm.
he was originally cast as the husband, Hutter. That's his last name, right?
Yeah, Hutter, yeah. Mhm.
Okay. He was originally cast as Hutter, and then this was like years and years ago. Then the movie kind of fell apart. And when it got picked back up again, um, Bill was like, "Okay, I'm ready." And then Robert Eggers was like, "No, I cast Nicholas Holt." And then he said, "Okay, I'll be the other guy." He says, "No, I cast Aaron Taylor Johnson." Hot, hot men, like tall, hot guys. And he's like, "Ugh." So he said he was determined to be in the movie. And he said, "Okay, how about Count Orlok?" This man,
Mhm.
who most people find hot, head to toe, in prosthetics and a fake mustache. Okay, prosthetics. Speaking of which, I heard about one and I was really concerned.
Oh, his prosthetic penis.
The dirty
Yeah,
hot dog, yep.
Yeah. I mean that if that's not commitment to the bit, I don't fucking know what is.
Jeez.
And
not
like,
to mention in that scene where he's in the sarcophagus,
mhm,
he was he had contacts in so he couldn't see shit, and
mhm.
he's covered in rats and maggots.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
preach.
Yeah.
Props.
I
I'm
preach.
not saying that I don't think he's cute. I'm just saying that there's a scale on Skarsgård brothers. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Valid. It's
That's
valid,
it.
but he's taken this whole like I'm gonna be a horror icon thing in this
Mhm.
really fun direction to the point where he studied with an opera coach to make his voice do that thing. That's hot.
Oh,
What?
Mm.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Oh
No
yeah.
I didn't know
way.
that. That's amazing.
Yes. That's
That
dedication.
is
So that's what I'm
dedication.
saying. Like they all like really took these roles seriously. Like how she was shaken and like being possessed, like bending backwards. She studied with a movement coach.
Mm.
That makes sense. I mean, I haven't really seen Lily Rose Depp in a lot of stuff, and if she has been in other
Neither.
things, I don't know if I've watched it, but she was phenomenal. Like, I think
Mhm.
she
Yeah.
Thought she was so good. Hmm.
she's also given the big forehead community like a great name. But like, here we go. But
Shout out, sis.
I
shout
thought
out,
she kind of looks like Christina Ricci
she
because like just
does.
the shape of her face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's got
So
a very gothic, like old world like look to her face, so I think it worked really well
Yeah.
with you. Because sometimes I feel like when they do these like historical thriller, horror, drama, whatever, everybody in the movie looks like they have seen an iPhone, and I can't believe it anymore. You know what I mean? But like she kind of fits that bill, but I think she played this role insanely well, and
mhm.
it made me feel bad for her at so many points in time because like she never asked for any of this. I mean, she kind of did, but like not on purpose. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
and also like it's his fault. He was out there listening for the whispers of little girls to come hunt
that
them
too.
into death.
That's fucking
It's
weird.
his
Yeah.
fault.
Lasher.
Yeah,
Oh, don't
Oh
remind
boy.
me. Don't
that is a
remind me. I'm
little odd. Like out of
traumatized.
all the
Yeah.
things you could have been doing that day, it was this
Just
little
just
girl. Like that's
mega
weird.
predator.
Hmm.
Yes,
Crazy.
And you waited, you haunted her for years, and you didn't even meet her
forever.
in person.
Yeah.
You didn't even
So
meet her in
that's
person.
karma. That's
Yeah.
really karma coming after him that
Hmm.
he was so into her
Hmm.
that he sucked on her chest
Hmm.
until the sun came up and killed him. That him on top of her, horrifying. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, the zoom out.
Yeah.
No me
I
toques.
cackled. I cackled at the booty cheeks. I'm
The
sorry.
desiccated, the
Yeah.
desiccated boobie though that he was like ripping flesh out of.
Right? Oh my God. That was a visceral moment of the whole movie. I mean,
Yeah.
I know the whole movie was disgusting, but that
Yeah,
was both
Yeah,
terrible.
that
visual,
definitely took the cake
it
for
was both
sure.
visually stunning and equally disgusting all at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a
Yeah.
very similar ending to the original one, like that scene of the
Yeah.
sun coming up,
It
Yes.
but
was.
a lot more graphic. A
I like
lot more.
the way they did the sun
Yeah.
coming up too, because usually like with like the vampire idea, it's like the sun comes up and he's gonna like explode into flames or melt or something, and like
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
not what happened at all. And I was like, that's interesting. But
there were a
also,
lot of
look
creative
at those
choices.
little tiny skeleton legs and his little.
I
Okay, I saw
do.
so many Orlock skips leg days comments.
Yep.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
his
For
whole little
sure.
body was like this big.
I will say though, like seeing his body like that,
Mhm.
and then thinking back to like the very first time like we see him,
Mhm.
how heavy his footsteps were.
Mhm.
Yeah, his
Like I'm
boots.
like what was that? You know,
Really,
was it
well,
too
he's
like
all tank up here, and then the boots probably, and then
It's
the
the
echo.
boots.
was
They
it
talked about it in the
the
costume
boots?
design
Yeah.
because he was a count. Like when he started his life a bajillion years
Mm.
ago, he was of high status. So he's got the really decorated outfit and the high heels, the red bottoms.
There's a red bottom. It's the red bottom. Got it. Oh my God.
Oh man.
No wonder
Okay, yeah,
he's
'cause I
geezing.
was wondering. I was like, man, he sounds really heavy. Like, and I thought it was also cool. It was a really good effect seeing
Hmm.
him like that, walking around like that. Number one, and then watching him raise up to like full height.
Hmm.
I was like, whoa. I was like,
Yes.
all right, guys,
Thomas
kind
better
of
than me. I'd have
tall.
shitted on myself. I'm so sorry.
Okay, but Thomas,
Like,
he looked really genuinely afraid. Like when
yeah.
he
Mhm.
first was
Yeah,
in his presence. And when
Hmm.
that man
yeah.
said, you stay here.
He
Okay.
was like, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's no problem.
All right.
He's
Let's
like,
Her.
talk.
I feel I'm going mad here, and I'm like, buddy, you are.
Let's also talk about how submissive he was in
Right? He was just like, okay.
just everything. Right? He's like, oh yeah, sure. And I'm like, dude, there's no ounce of like fight in you. Like we didn't see that until like the moment like with his wife on the couch.
Even then, that's
Mhm.
Like,
still a humiliation kink because she humiliated
yeah,
him before he did all that. So-
exactly. It's like you had to be prompted, man. Like she had to coerce you into even like doing that. Like
He's got a
there was no
humiliation kink.
sense of like
Oh my
fight
God, they
other
figured it
than
out.
what
So like
the
those
horse.
thoughts were true thoughts when she said
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
So
I was like, oh, that's kind of a little bit too true.
Oh,
It's like
Ron.
So
you
if
should have just
he was
kept some on your back.
he has the humiliation kink and he has that like submissiveness.
Mhm.
Are we betting that he was bricked up the entire time he was in that castle? That's
Dumb.
what where my
And
brain goes. Like maybe
I
he
hands
don't
was
down.
know.
And when he woke up unconscious, he was
Mhm.
like, "Did he
Right.
touch my butt?
Yeah.
Was, was he in
Yeah.
there?"
Yeah. I had the thought for him. I
I
was
was
like, man, I was like, he definitely got his butt touched. I was like, because
Oh
right.
this
yeah.
Oh.
whole thing has been a complete trip since he got in the carriage. He didn't
Mhm.
know when, where, or why he was.
No,
I was like, so he
Just
definitely got his butt touched for
oriented
sure.
fuck
for
the whole
sure.
time. It was just so weird. And he was just like, okay, I guess this is my boyfriend now. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Basically,
Boyfriends.
Mhm.
yeah, you saw the way he woke up in front of the fireplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just
Romantic
like,
as
yeah.
hell. No.
I was like, check
That
your pants, brother.
actually that actually reminded me of Ricky from Trailer Park Boys waking up after being hungover. He's just like pulling
Is
himself
he
off the
after the wife
ground.
or is he after Thomas at this point? Because I feel
Right,
like
right.
he's
I
got
think
a
he's
thing
after
for
both of
both of
them.
them.
If you can
Yeah.
get it.
Right. Jesus
He's like,
Christ.
well, if I can't have her, at least I got you. That's kind of
You're
how
my
it felt.
backup, baby.
At least let
Yeah.
him
So
get
much.
conscious for some of it. Shit. That man was just like didn't know his left from his right. Like he's like, I don't
It was
know
a
No.
what's happening.
confusing time, I've heard. I don't
Yeah.
know.
He's
What with
so-
all the rats and the syphilis.
oh, Jesus.
I mean, you can say the same thing about the Romans, but
They
Mm,
do.
I
mm,
just
I don't know.
I don't
But
know.
All
That
right,
guy was
guys.
going through something.
Skarsgård as Orlok was a good choice, and I think he did a
Yeah, for
really good
sure.
Definitely.
job. Yeah.
Definitely. I hope he does it again.
Yeah.
Um, so all right, final thoughts, like big thoughts, and then we're gonna rate the movie. We do a Chud scale of 1 to 5, Ray.
Okay.
He didn't
Ah,
even ask what Chuds were.
nope.
Good.
Please don't. Just don't.
I my final thought is I really like this movie, but Willem Dafoe will always be Nosferatu for me, actually, from Shadow of the Vampire. That was my favorite depiction of Nosferatu or Arlok. So
Yo,
Mhm.
he probably loves these projects. Like, put
mhm.
me in
Yeah.
another one,
Yeah.
Look
please.
at him in the movie. He was having fun. Like that man was having a good time. He's like, I'm just here. You know what we gotta do? We gotta do this. This weird book says this. I don't know. Just I want this bitch's cat. So like if we can get
Yeah.
this shit over with, please.
Just
Wrap it
skedaddle.
up.
Completely relate, dude.
Yeah.
Completely. I'd be after the cat too.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Honestly, big thoughts. I don't know if I have huge ones. I love this movie. I think for right now, like for the end of the year, this is probably one of the best movies I've seen all
Mhm.
year. And
Definitely.
the way they chose to do the story, I mean, yeah, it's a retelling of like Nosferatu, but they really took a different, it's not a super different approach, but it's different enough. And that's how I feel about remake. You don't have anything to
Yes.
say, then please just don't even
Just
bother.
leave it alone.
Yes.
But they didn't do that this time, so I really
Mm.
did like that. I felt really bad for her best friend because she just got wrapped up in some nonsense
Collateral
that,
damage.
that had nothing to do with her. But it's
Yeah.
interesting that they didn't go the bride route with her. They just went pestilence and death
Yeah.
immediately. I did like that. Felt bad for the kids. I'm not gonna lie. And ultimately, Thomas is a fucking idiot. That was pretty much it. Like a submissive dumbass. Like it's okay to be a
Yeah.
golden retriever, but please get some self-preservation skills, please.
Yeah.
Just like an
I
ounce,
agree.
Smidge.
just a little
Just
bit,
like
just
a
a
Ray?
bit.
Yeah, so I think overall like I really liked it. I think that like in seeing pieces because I haven't watched the original like the 1922 like all the way through, but seeing pieces of that like reflected in what we saw today, I think was amazing. Then also I think them bridging essentially all the tales for the most part together. So like the lore like among like the village people that are like down from the mountain that he basically like lives on. I thought that was great. Adding in the convent, tying in the Demeter was great. And
Hmm.
then I also thought that like the ending, although like I somewhat feel a little bit unfulfilled, um, I thought was great because it still, in a way, was in line with the original. So those are my thoughts, and I'm sticking to
Period.
them.
I think
I
unfulfilled is a good way to put it, but I think that might have been on purpose because
Yeah,
like
I think so.
nothing good comes of this shit. Like,
it
Yeah.
can definitely be a choice.
mhm,
And sometimes it's really good. I have no complaints about this movie, which is rare, except for the mustache. Except it's not even a real complaint. I just hate it and it's ugly. But I understand the purpose of it because he is incredibly monstrous in
mhm,
like a way I feel like is not done all that often because
mhm,
we know what we expect when we see a vampire, but he's like, no, this is a long, long dead. This is a
mhm,
dead
mhm,
count.
mhm,
Spraying on the
Yeah.
minds and hearts of ladies and the chests of people who don't want that to happen to them. So
yes, I don't
Arguably.
this,
argue.
okay, someone gets consensual, but you know, our girl
Dude,
Ellen.
Thomas. I don't know.
I wonder what it smelled like in that
No,
castle.
I
It
don't want to think
smelled
about that because my
like
nose
hands and
hairs
bounce that ass for
tinge.
that motherfucker because I know it's fake.
You
I
can
know.
smell him from town. Like
Yeah,
I'm
For
certain.
sure.
What's that smell? That's the count.
that's the
Yeah.
count.
Final threat. But
Like rotting
Count mahogany.
skins,
so
mahogany.
good. I thought the movie was so good, and if you can't tell, Robert Eggers is my current hyperfixation, so won't be shutting up about any of that stuff.
No, this was
Ever.
great. Like honestly, this is one like when I buy DVDs, it's only of movies that I'm going to rewatch. So this is one of
Yes,
them. Like I'm
I
going to
will
say,
also.
yeah.
This one and Gary Oldman, I think these are literally
Mhm,
my two favorites. Like,
Yeah.
can't do it. And they're and it's good to have one of each, a Dracula and a great value Dracula, because
Yeah.
that's kind of what my boy
Yeah.
Nosferatu was,
It's a
if
very
you ask
different it's a very different approach to the romantic thread there. Like bitch you're mine versus I've crossed oceans of time for you. Like it's very
yeah.
different.
and his
Very different.
Yeah.
mustache,
You called
please.
out to me like she was like 10. She didn't know what she was doing. Like, but
Right.
you're the
It's
one
your
who called out to
responsibility.
me.
Yeah.
You're the adult here. Like, explain the rules.
I think that Gary Oldman washed his ass crack though. I'm just gonna put that
Oh,
Yeah.
one
he
out
looks
there.
squeaky clean.
Oh, he
I could trust
definitely
that
took
stash.
luxurious baths.
Yep. And rose
Like,
He
you
petals and
had
know,
shit.
his
Yeah.
clean
wives bathe
man.
him. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, some
I'm gonna
Sadee
give this
Savage in the top cabinet.
definitely. I'm gonna give
Yeah.
this movie a really high rating. I can't give it a perfect rating because it's the last movie of the year. I don't think that's fair. So I'm gonna give it a 4.5. Just gonna do.
Yeah.
I also was gonna give it a 4.5. I would say 5, but I will say that I felt like at first it took me a minute to get into it just because the beginning felt like a little bit slow. And I was like, when are we getting to the juicy shit? But once it did, it was amazing. So 4.5 for me.
Once the dong dropped,
Juicy.
that's when you knew it was gonna start picking up.
Oh yeah,
Oh
no, yeah.
yeah.
The song was what did it for me.
You know,
all know I famously love men. Like
same, right?
Unfortunately.
I'm like really, I'm bouncing between 4 and 4.5, but I think I'm gonna land more on 4 because while I really, really love this one, I do think
Mm.
Shadow of the Vampire is my favorite of the Orlok ones, and I don't know. I would say 4.25 if I
Period.
can further dissect
Yeah.
a chud there.
Split the difference.
generous for you because you've been shitting on movies hard this year.
31 Days of Horror was terrible. They were so
That's true.
bad. Like
It was pretty
I
bad.
can't help it.
I don't
I
blame you. It
wasn't
was
even
bad.
there, but
It was bad
we're
stuff. It was
just
bad.
Bad.
I've heard
Mhm.
it's good to be back and hopefully
Return.
2025. I haven't peeped the like release schedule for 2025, but if
Mm.
the if the why can't I English right now. If the previews during this movie have anything to say, and setting the tone with this year, I feel like we probably have a lot of great things to look forward to. Ray gave it a 4.6.
I'm with that.
In the meantime, you can find this podcast on the interwebs at ghostandmagazine.site or on Instagram at GITM Podcast, and you can find me on Instagram at Stef Spector.
You can find me at Nocturnical.
You can find me at Sadie 2_B.
Okay, bye!